this is how we've always done it. I guarantee that in any organization where that statement comes up, is I bet if I go back 5, 10, 15, 20 years, I will find a time where you adapted, updated, or made amendments to this is how we've always done it to accommodate for a necessary change or adaptation based on the human population, based on what you had available at the time, a building was getting remodeled, whatever it was. And it was so successful that it became the way you do it now, which then when you add in a lot of human turnover became this is how you've always done it.
Okay, welcome in, everyone. We're here. We're laughing already. It's going to be a great episode. Mandi, happy Monday. How are you doing?
Amani, I'm frustrated today. I'm not going to lie. I don't want to bring the bad juju to the table, but I don't want to lie to our audience and to you. It's been a frustrating day today. I've had internet problems. I've had insurance problems. I've had contracting problems. It's just been one of those days. That's just like everywhere you turn, there's just another knot to untangle. I'm grateful that I am a solution-based human being who thrives on solving problems, but some days it would be nice not to have them one after the other, after the other, after the other. So I would say I'm not at my best self today. Yes, yes.
All right.
What about you, Amani? What's going on with you?
Well, so today it's Monday. This is the first week after the semester is over. I just have to finish up some grading. So we had the last day of class, the final exams last week, and that went well. Now I'm just trying to finish out the grading of the papers. Nice. I had an event in LA this weekend where, who did I see there? You probably know Noah Wiley from like the Pit or whatever. He was there.
Yeah,
Look at it. He was there. Ben Shapiro was
awesome.
there. Trojan was there from, I forget what show she was on. I know. And then my guy Mike, who plays the character Mike in Suits, was there. So it was a celebrity event.
I love
there.
Mike from Suits. What I saw you posting about that. What was that event?
So it was Everyday Action. They're a nonprofit that really helps with taking food that is at these like these movie shoots and film shoots. They have an abundance of food that goes to waste. So they take the food and they actually are able to repackage it and donate it to people who are in need of food. And so this was their third gala, and I've DJ'd their gala the last 3 times. And so it's a cool event. It's my way of giving back. And it's cool. I'm trying to think. It was cool there. It was good. I'm trying to think who else we saw there. There's some other people there. Rachel Bloom was the host. I don't know her that well, but she was the host. So there were people there just mixing and mingling, and that's what I did this weekend, I think, right? Yeah, that's pretty much.
Did you have any pancakes?
And I saw no pancakes, no pancakes. I saw our good friend Richard Bliss present again at National Speakers Association in Las Vegas.
Oh, good. Did you get any new nuggets from him?
Yeah, so he and have you met his daughter, Leah? Leah was there.
I haven't, but he talked about her. She lives in San Diego.
Yes, and so Leah she was in Salt Lake, I think. But
he's got some kid that lives in.
he's got kids there. But they talked about Sales Navigator and using Sales Navigator, and they showed it to us. Do you use Sales Navigator?
I do not, but I have used it in the past, but I do not currently use it.
Yeah. So that was interesting. They showed us some stuff. So it was really good. Like you learn. I got my notes. I could share them with you. But yeah, that was the weekend.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
So no pancakes, no sweets. Did we have any sweet drinks? I know you like your sweets.
Nope, I kind of like to stay without alcohol when I'm working. So no sweet drinks, no pancakes the next day. But I think we're halfway through May, so I can indulge now. I'm good.
Yeah.
Yes.
How will you celebrate? You're done with classes. You're almost done grading papers. Like when you're done with all that, is there a moment that you reserve for yourself where you're like, okay, I'm done with another successful class situation and I'm heading into the summer, or do you just roll into the summer? Like, what does
Yeah.
that look like for you?
I roll into the summer, but I should be celebrating because it's always good to complete a successful semester. So I still owe myself sushi from when my book came out too. So I
Oh,
got two things
yeah.
on the queue. So yes,
Yeah.
I'll get back to you on that for sure.
Okay. Let me know.
All right.
Don't forget to
So
celebrate the wins.
yes, keep reminding me. Remind me to
Okay.
ask you about, I have to ask you about a sales question too, but we'll do that offline.
Okay.
Um, Okay, our guest today, Devon, is with us. We've been trying to get Devon on the show for a little while, and so we actually waited because I think, and she'll tell us, like she went full time this past January. I want to say the beginning of the year, and I have lots of questions because I think it takes an immense amount of courage to really go full time, particularly in this environment. So I really want to figure out her mindset, and she's a speaker like us, and she does all things in our event world. So let's bring Devon M. Pasha to the stage. So we got you on stage here. Now let's give you a round of applause.
Yay. Hey,
Hey,
Devin.
that was
Nice
such
to
a
see
polite
you.
applause.
Welcome.
It was a nice
Mhm.
Ohio applause. Oh, good for
No,
you.
this is
Welcome.
like Ohio. Like, woo, 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 woo. There's a
Okay,
little
that's the
throwback
Arsenio one
Arsenio
there.
for you. Yeah.
Yes. So Devon, welcome to the show. I mean,
Thank
we can get right
you.
to it or not, but let's ask this question to start off with. I'm
All right.
always curious, if you were to give yourself one superpower, what is your one superpower and why is that your superpower?
Well, it's so funny because I actually do a superpower energizer when I'm on
Okay.
stage. So it's not
Ooh.
it's taken from a more serious keynote, which is more towards our women audience. But I talk about superpowers a lot because a lot of us don't realize we have them. So I do this in two ways to get to know people. So I think about superhero superpowers, and I think about what's your actual superpower. So my actual superpower is empathy. I am a
Ooh.
super empath. It is my favorite Achilles heel and superpower. So I love being an emotional person. I love having empathy. I think it drives me. And when harnessed correctly, creates fantastic connections. If I could be a superhero superpower, I go back to my girl, my Wonder Woman. I love the badass, things. But what I like is truth and language. So I would love to be able to speak every language flawlessly, understand every language flawlessly, just to be able to be like a super connector. Um, One of the things I'm actually horrible with is foreign language because, as I learned as an adult, I'm dyslexic. And one
Mm.
of my dyslexic challenges, it's not so much with reading, it's with like regurgitating information. So I can absorb a new language, but I can't get it back to you because those are two different sides of your brain. So yeah, I'm in a Spanish speaking part of the world. I can kind of understand what people are asking. I have enough Spanish to figure it out. Same thing with French. I can kind of get the gist of it, but when it comes to like speaking it, it's just like a hard freeze. So
Okay.
I would love to be able to speak every language flawlessly.
All right. And since, I'm sure Manny's going to take you back to the beginning, but I want to ask you right now, what was the inspiration and motivation for you to go full time with your own business starting in January of this year?
Yes. So I launched a business July of 2022 and was not a solopreneur. I had a partnership with a company. I was serving as their director for the United States. So they were sort of my full time client for 2 years. But oddly enough, I did an exercise in and around a couple of years ago about executive performance. And one of the things that it talked about was a boundary box and your anti goals. So setting goals, setting boundaries, and sort of like your anti goals and your things that don't go within your boundary box. And what I realized at the end of 2 years was that I had gotten to a point where I was letting certain parts of that role cross into part of that anti goal list and cross over what I considered what I wanted to do for my life. And when I was trying to internally figure out why I felt so much friction and why I was kind of, losing my mental focus, losing my physical health, and like something just didn't feel right, I actually ended up going back to that exercise and realizing that there was a couple things that had hit. And I was like, you know what, I think it's time for a pause. I think it's time for a reset. And while I figure out the next step, the best thing for me is just to control me and control my life. So there were some health things there too. I'm not gonna lie, taking care of your health is important. I did not know how to do that for, I don't know, ever. So that's new. Taking care of your body is important, body, mind, and soul. But yeah, while I was figuring that out, it just meant I needed the flexibility to have control over my time, my life. And I decided that what that meant was going full time on my own.
All
And
right.
so,
and
yeah,
here
so I
we are.
relaunched officially January 29th, 2025. DMP Creative is now a solopreneur operation organization. And here we are, almost halfway
Okay.
through the year.
Yeah,
All
let's
right.
talk about DMP Creative. Like, what is it? What do you do? How did you determine what services you're going to offer?
DMP Creative is, you could give like the whole, like, it's a firm that helps people figure out. No, I could probably read that verbatim, and you're welcome to go to my website and read what myself and some creative people in Chat GPT
Yeah.
spit out for you, which makes me sound
Yeah.
amazing.
I
I
don't
am
wanna do that,
amazing,
yeah.
but this is what DMP Creative is. I am an event strategist and designer by trade. I am a trained MC facilitator and professional speaker. And what I like to do is to get to know you, to get to know your problems, what you're facing. A problem is just an opportunity in workflows. It's not always insurmountable. You just got to figure out what it looks like and get to know it really well. I like to ask my problems a lot of questions, get to know it. I can charm anyone into anything. And that includes your problems. And like, let's figure it out. Does your stage program need to get redesigned? Great. Do you need someone to lead the reorg and then be the conduit for which it happens? Do you need a really compelling keynote speaker? Do you have great content that needs to be facilitated through different courses? Do you have the content, but not someone who knows how to facilitate it well? And it's really just getting to know you, asking great questions, asking the hows and the whats and the whys, and then figuring out, putting all that together, looking at it from multiple perspectives. How can I bring value to you, your organization, your next event? And whether again that's redesigning your stage program, whether it's consulting on the event itself and helping you see it from multiple perspectives, redesigning the time you have on stage. A lot of people, it's like, oh, we need a keynote at 9, and then we need a breakout at 10:30, then we need a keynote at lunch, and then we're going to program over lunch, and then we're going to have stop.
Boring. Yeah.
Let's ask you about your event first. Who do you have
Right.
contracted? What is your flexibility? What do you really want to have happen? And asking those questions, say, well, if that's the case, this person is actually probably better as your morning keynote because it's content heavy. And so we really want that content heavy person to be where people can learn the most content. This person is energizing and creative and connective. You want that person to be after lunch because you want that person to kind of bring that emotion and connectivity while people's brains don't have enough blood flow to actually learn something new. And that's the type of stuff that I like to bring, just as an example, to clients. That's what DMP Creative does, is we ask questions. And then we figure out how to serve you the best. And there's a lot of different ways to add that sort of connectivity and value, predominantly as event strategist and designer, the execution also being the unit that is me as an MC facilitator and keynote speaker.
I love that. And what's the surprise? So there's always an unintended consequence or a surprise result that your clients get when probed with these brilliant questions. Like, what are some of the surprise results you've seen and when you're working with customers?
That is a great question, Mandy. I think it's a conversation that goes something like, but this is how we've always done it. And that kind of gets served on the table as like, this is how we've always done it. And they leave it there like that's the only course that can be served. And I politely pick up the course and I move it aside. I say, since the last time you changed it. And now the table is clear. And they go, what? It's taken me, and I'm not kidding, 20 years to come up with since the last time you changed it. And anyone who's worked in any sort of association or anything with historical background, with any sort of, all of your like alumni associations or collegiates or things with like hundreds of years of history. So this is how we've always done it. And they just feel so handcuffed by that. And I have figured this out after 20 years. This is the remark that is irrefutable since the last time you changed it. Because I guarantee that in any organization where that statement comes up, is I bet if I go back 5, 10, 15, 20 years, I will find a time where you adapted, updated, or made amendments to this is how we've always done it to accommodate for a necessary change or adaptation based on the human population, based on the what you had available at the time. A building was getting remodeled, whatever it was. And it was so successful that it became the way you do it now, which then when you add in a lot of human turnover became, this is how you've always done it. So I know I can go back every single time. And the one I use the most is like, I guarantee you at some point, Princeton's commencement started using electricity.
Shazam-a-lama. That's awesome.
Like, I
That's
guarantee
great.
you at some point we stopped using onion script, like copies, and started using digital files. Like you have changed it fundamentally. So why not use this? If you're so stuck, this is probably one of those moments. So let's talk about what that could look like in a really disarming way. Like, let's talk about all the ways that could change based on the ideal outcome that you need. And that's the conversation that usually sparks, which is one of my favorite words, sparks the, oh, I have permission to think about something new. I have permission to not start the day with a keynote. I have permission to not program over lunch. I have permission to have a networking reception not be a room with wine, cheese, cracker cubes, and some name badges. Like, I have permission to do things differently. And that is where all the magic happens.
Yeah. Change is scary. Yeah.
Very scary. So if we continue with this line of thinking, what are some trends? And I'm going to give you like a limiter, like we cannot talk about AI. So anything outside of AI, what are some trends that you are seeing as you're working on these major events? I'm curious, like about not programming over lunch or just doing things differently. What are some trends that you're seeing that you really think we should pay closer attention to?
Okay. Without having given it any thought and AI not being a thing. So to get that off the board, AI is a trend to talk about and think about and employ, but it's not an event experience. So let's differentiate these, right? What we need to learn and what is helpful for us as individuals is different from experience trends that we are seeing. In thinking about experience trends, one of my favorite is getting out of the room. Like, we are still super connected to this idea that everyone has to be in a room in a chair facing one direction. And you're like, okay, but when you think about it, there's only so many experiences you could have in that format. So if you're limiting yourself to everyone sitting in a dark room facing one way, what you're essentially saying is that the only way you're going to connect is one way, as in it's from the stage to that person without anything else happening. That is the thing that is changing the most. That is what we're actually taking permission to change the most. So that trend number one. Also, whatever happens in that one-way room being significantly shorter than it used to be. So while hour-long keynotes may be great, and I have seen some amazing ones. I saw Scott Galloway speak earlier this year, and that man could just keep talking. Now, there was a lot of
love him.
NYU language, and I was like, yo, Professor Galloway, it's been a minute since I've been in school. Is there a cheat sheet for this somewhere? Like, can I get the clip notes? But he's a fantastic speaker and very poignant and very serious and also very emotional. That's another thing I think is happening and trending in our industry is the ability to show emotion and vulnerability in a stage program. And I will say the most impactful speakers are the ones who are going to get you feeling something. If I walk out of a keynote and I have no emotional connection to what just said, that was a completely wasted amount of time. And people still spend the most amount of money on their stage programs on the keynotes. Okay. There are some amazing, talented speakers who may not necessarily be NBA stars, WNBA, movie stars. Okay. But their messages are more poignant and will hit home harder than other ones. The other thing is just because they're famous doesn't mean they're good at it. Another trend. For some of these big names, you're going to be paying 6+ figures. That doesn't make them great MCs, says a respected MC. That does not make them great moderators, says professional moderator. I love XXX amazing goat of all time people. Like, and respect to what you're great at. And I want to hear the stories about what you're great at. I want to hear your adversities. I want to hear you overcome your challenges. I want to hear what it's like to be a mom and be one of the most well-known women in the world. I want to hear that challenge and that story. I want to hear Beyonce talk about the fact that like she was dressed in $10 million worth of jewelry and Gucci sitting at a basketball game and girlfriend was holding goldfish and a juice box. I want to hear that story. But it doesn't make you a great panel moderator. It doesn't give you the innate ability to weave stories together from 3 different people or to control a room. It doesn't give you the innate ability to understand how to MC and host a program and understand when things are going wrong, how to reconnect with audiences. There are people who are great at that. That is our superpower. So again, thinking through like just because they're famous for one thing doesn't make them automatically great at something else. What do you want to spend money on?
Yes.
Because the other number one thing we hear the most right now is I don't have the budget. It's like, you don't have the budget to do it exactly the way you've always been doing it. And since you're also seeing diminishing results on that way, maybe it's time to take the budget, figure out how to use it to maximize all of your experiences and not do it that way.
Okay. All right. So for that response, we give you, those are like the little snaps. We're snapping.
Snaps. You're giving her sorority snaps, Money. You got your own hands.
So you can have the little snap or you can have the big snap.
Okay. I love the what are those called? Like the little
clappers.
Yes. Clappers. My next question, thank you for that answer, is since you like you're newly full-time again with your own business, what are your top 3 strategies you're implementing to grow your business? Because, and the reason I'm asking is there are many people who watch the show that want to follow the exact same thing you've just done.
Okay. The first thing is to admit that you know nothing. That's a serious thing. And that's really hard for people who are good at certain things in business. I have never been in business before, ever. Like I have worked for businesses where the business side of the business is run by people who have trained to be in business, like accounting and accounts payable and marketing and sales and all the other words that probably go along with running a business. I don't know how to do that. So admit you don't know what you're doing and then start asking questions. Even if you feel like they're stupid, it's like, how do I track business expenses? I don't know how to do that. Like, how do I set a budget for the month? I don't know how to do that. How do I track money coming in versus money going out? How do I put together a sales funnel? What the F is a sales funnel? I don't know. I don't know what any of this means. And getting over feeling dumb real quick. It's like, yeah, no one told you that there's not like you started a business and then you go into the matrix and someone plugs in your head and instantly you know how to do this.
That'd be awesome.
No, wouldn't that be great though? And
yeah.
I'd also be like a really great guitar player or like, flamenco dancer or something. Like plug that ash in and like, let's go. But I had to get over that really quick, over feeling stupid. And you have to get over the fact that 1, you're going to waste a lot of money. Just get over it. Like you're going to try something, you're going to spend money on it. You're going to realize that was not for you. You're going to realize what you spent on it. You're going to feel bad for about 5 seconds. Go eat a brownie, have a cup of coffee, put your big girl pants on and try it again. And it's like, you just have to stop beating yourself up for not knowing what you didn't know, but start picking yourself up when you figured out that was wrong, learn from it and keep going. And that versus like, here's how you do it, or here's how you start. Like roadmaps are going to look different for everyone based on your goals, based on where you want to go, how long you have to get there, who's involved in the process, solopreneurs, multipreneurs. Like, so I don't want to say this is exactly how I did it because that cookie cutter is not going to fit everybody. But what I just said, that will fit everyone. And that's the type of journey I think we need to look at more as solopreneurs is how do you pick yourself back up after you've learned the hard way? And how do you share those lessons with others so that they can learn and keep going and falling forward? And then also find your tribe. You have to find people who will be like, yeah, let me help. And some of those people are going to come in the forms of coaches, and you're going to pay for the privilege of that coaching, and it's going to be an investment. Those are the best investments I've made, hands down, are my coaches. And they have the two of them made the most significant impact on my life inside of 2 years.
Hmm.
And from them have come most of my most important opportunities. So find your coaches and then find your tribe. And tribe are sort of like, I guess, more like the mentors, sponsors. You want to find people who are going to speak your name in rooms that you're not. And you have to build that trust. You have to build that rapport out. That is the other thing I would say is find those people, connect with them, get your monthlies. Sometimes I call them like my board of directors and like, hey, listen, I got a problem. I need to run this by someone. I need to talk it out. One of them is my therapist. Shout out to Miss Jody. I will actually name her by name. I love you, Miss Jody. She's like, I need to work through something. Like, I don't know how else to express this. So I need to work it out with someone to figure out where I want to go with this. But I do have a board of directors. I do have people that I call up or meet with monthly to say, hey, I need emotional support. I need business support. I need technical support. I don't know what my sales funnel is. Can you help me? And just having that board to go to who all have different skill sets. Those are the things, Amani, I would say to answer the question is these are the things you need to put together in business, especially if you're your own person and your skill set does not lend to the business side. And the last one I would say, and this came from one of my coaches, Amani, you know her well, Miss Courtney Stanley is one of my coaches. Huge impact on my life. If anyone needs a fantastic coach, again, call Courtney, go running to Courtney Stanley.
Aww.
But I asked her this question. It was actually one of our last coaching sessions when I had launched my business. I said, I don't know what to do every day. And she laughed, but it was a funny question. It was like, what do I do on Monday versus Tuesday? Like, I have all the decisions to make in the world and all the time to do it. So that means I'll make none of them. I will make absolutely not one because I don't know where to go. Like, I don't have a way to structure my time, so nothing's getting done. What do I do every day? And she was like, all right, here's what we're going to do. She was like, you have to block out time to figure out when you want to do certain things. And that was one of the most helpful conversations I've ever had. It's like Mondays for admin stuff, like get your bills done, get your emails out, send your invoices, like figure out what's hanging over, like all of that in the business weedy stuff. Just get it out the way. Like, she said she's like me. Like, I'm more creative in the afternoons, but I'm not as productive in the afternoon. So I only take meetings in the afternoons. No one gets to meet with me before noon unless it's an emergency or it's really just like super time sensitive. But that way, like my golden hour, my most productive time is first thing in the morning. So now I have a routine every morning. I set my goals for the day. I have my coffee. I do my journaling. And when I sit down at my desk, I'm ready to go. And each day has a purpose. Meetings happen in the afternoon. Evenings are for wrapping things up. Fridays are for anything that didn't get wrapped up during the week. And Friday is also my wellness day. Can I get to yoga? Can I, get my therapy session in? Can I get a walk in today? Is today the day I have lunch with a girlfriend to charge a battery? And from there, it's like, okay, so now I know how to structure my time. Things are getting done. I know when to schedule them. I know the difference between working in my business and on my business. And it's those types of things. So again, going back to, it's the people that you put in your life, how they help you, your mentors, your coaches, your board of directors. And then it's yourself and coming in with that resilient mindset. It's like, you are going to F up. Expect it. It will happen. You are going to lose money the first year. You're not going to be a billionaire. And if you are, all the power to you. Like, I know what I've invested in my business this year. And the investments and seeing them as investments, either in growing the business or growing my knowledge about what not to do. You can invest in that. It's just another way to reframe a mistake. Like, okay, now I know. And I've learned so much from that. And that's how much that knowledge cost me. And then you move on.
All right. Yeah. Shout out to Courtney. We love Courtney.
Shout out to Courtney. Snaps for Courtney.
We love Courtney. Courtney was a great interview. So if you're listening, go back and look for the Courtney Stanley interview. We had a great sesh with her here last year. Yeah, last year.
Go ahead, Mandi.
So
I got more questions, but go ahead, Mandi.
I know. Well, I'm like in my head, I'm like, do I go here? Do I go there? Do I go here? I'm gonna change gears for a second. So it has been said about you before. The quotes I'm reading are that you're captivating, that you get the audience dialed in, that you're engaging. So when you're preparing to MC or you're preparing to facilitate, what are a couple key actions you take for yourself that get you to be so captivating, engaging, and getting audiences dialed in? Like what's your prep work?
That's awesome. It's also a little humbling. I just had a second there. I'm like, it's a little humbling to have reviews tell you that you're good at what you want to be good at. Does that make
Do
sense?
you want to answer it? Yeah. Do you
No,
want to
no,
answer
sorry.
it?
That's
That'd be
my
fun.
alarm to go pick up my kid from
Oh,
the
is it?
bus. Yeah. Sorry.
Oh,
it's
I was like, hello? That would
3:30.
be
No,
fun.
3:30 Central Time. It's exactly the time it is, but I'm not in charge of that
We
today.
never had a
But
live call before.
but I have ADD, so if I don't set the alarm, I can say like, oh, I have 10 minutes, and then she'll be like, I'm at the bus stop. Like, just kidding, Mama's running down the street.
Same. Yes. Same.
Getting to know yourself, guys. I have an adult diagnosed ADHD, and getting that diagnosed and figure out what that means has opened a world of doors. But to go back to the original sentence is, I didn't know I wanted to be here until I knew I wanted to be here. And when you find your way on the path that you've set for yourself and you start doing it, and then you kind of get the validation that that's something that you're good at, and like you have professionals come up and say, and people giving you opportunities, it's very humbling. So to hear you read good feedback was a very humbling moment that I don't want to gloss over. And I think that's important for people in business. You guys were talking earlier about celebrating your wins. Like that's just a little glimmer win for me that there is a professional review that says that I've done what I've set out to do, what I've designed to have happen. And the answer is that I designed for that to happen. And I think about who's in the room, where are they, what have they been doing, what time of day is it, what do I know about them, what do I need to know about them, what are some insider stories that'll help them feel connected to me. What do I need to be vulnerable? Do I need to be upbeat? Do I need to be serious? And it's asking a lot of questions like, how would this event look if it was fully successful? What does great success look like? What is your audience doing, leaving? What are they saying to you that would make you believe this was a fully successful event? And then I try to work backwards. I give everything of myself. Like I have to fill the cup and the battery as high as it will go before I take any stage, because I will literally leave everything I have out there.
How do you fill that? What do you do to fill the battery, fill the cup?
Preparation now is something really big. Like I want to trust that I know my audience, but also that I've built so much trust with my host, whomever that is, that I go out there. I just need to know and have faith that I understand the desired outcome, so much so that it feels second nature, because it has to be second nature when something goes wrong. You immediately have to pivot and know, okay, I've got this, and this is the new problem, and this is where we need to go. So what do I have to keep driving to that? The second is respecting my body and my boundaries. I need sleep. And I'm actually, since I had my little one, she's 7 now, but since I had her, I've become a really bad sleeper. So it's knowing that, yes, there may be a great reception, there may be a bunch of people, and I'm a social butterfly. Amani see me. I'm like, I always want to be out there meeting, connecting, hugging, getting the story and being smiling and connected. But I also know that costs something. So the night before I go on, it's 0 drinks if I can help it. Sometimes at receptions, you're like politely sipping a glass of wine, but knowing that I have to get to bed, making sure that the hotel room is where and how and what it needs to be. And sometimes that means being the person who brings the extra bag. Do I need a sound machine? Do I need my little humidifier? Do I need to bring my earplugs and my sleep mask? And and on one hand, it looks super diva, but I know that if I have the tools that are essential to a good night's sleep, I can do pretty much anything. Prepping the instrument. So making sure that I've warmed up, making sure that I have steamed in the morning, that I have hot water and honey and lemon to make sure everything is ready to go. And then mental and emotional. So I pep in the morning. I am all about the pep talk. Shower in the morning gets a full-on girl power playlist. And I am loud, and I apologize. Next door neighbors, it's 6 a.m. I am busting Aretha Franklin, some Lizzo, some Demi Lovato, some Kelly Clarkson. I'm talking like the big ladies here, because I want to feel empowered, and music is something for me that is like metaphysical. Like it fills everything. And if I got that good song on, I am just ready to rock. And the last one is visualizing it. So there's whether it's on a Post-it note, written on my mirror, written in a notebook, texted to myself, it's you did great already. You slayed it. Just visualizing the success at the end of it and then just meeting your own expectation. And that combination of things is really helpful.
Yeah, you did great already. I love that. It's
Yeah.
great.
What
Good prep
what's
work.
what's the Aretha song that you're playing?
Oh, it's respect. Yeah.
I'm just checking, just checking.
I mean,
Now,
there's a couple, but I'll tell you a quick anecdote because this is one of those moments, right? I was doing I had a professional engagement in Nashville. A wonderful team. They were actually doing a team retreat in Nashville. They hosted me out there. They were staying at a gorgeous hotel. It's called the Thompson. Really going like right downtown Nashville, just stunning place. And they said, "Oh, it was amazing." And they said, "Oh, well, we've given you a suite for the evening." And I was like, "Oh, thanks." Because like in my head, I'm still 22, and I'm like, "Oh my god, I'm traveling for work, and the hotel room's like really nice. Like it's so cool." Yes, I'd love to be shown to my room. Would you like a complimentary bubbles on your way? Oh, that would be lovely. Thank you. Like I do this all the time, right? In my head, I'm like, shit, this is so cool. So get up there, and because it's in Nashville, this suite happens to have a record player, and it has a selection of vinyl, like really cool, all these great Nashville artists. And the one in the very front is the queen herself, Miss Aretha Franklin. And the very first song on that album is Respect. And as soon as that guy closed the door, album on, pumped up with my bubbles, because I was like, you know what? This is cool. I am cool. This happened. I'm doing this. And someone has paid for the privilege of hearing me do something that I am great at. Darn it. And I'm going to play some Aretha, and I'm going to shout it from the rooftops because you know what? I earned it. So thank you, Bubbles, and thank you, Miss Aretha, because it really is something that like I earned this moment. Like, and so respect it. Thank you.
okay, preach. All right. Now, you have extensive experience in higher education.
I do.
How has that helped you in your current role?
Managing bureaucracy.
Unintended consequence.
Unintended. So, to be fair, that comment has two routes. So I cut my teeth in a lot of my event work, working in higher ed. So as an event professional in higher ed, specializing in events for specifically alumni offices, development offices, president's offices. And that was over 10 plus years of my professional work in the events industry. And it took me a minute. I was having a bit of a crisis of faith. Like, am I a higher ed professional? I was like, no, I'm an event professional who specializes in these events. While doing that, also became a professor in higher education to teach undergraduates. And it really gives you an interesting look around a couple of things, because higher ed is actually a bit corporate. So it does have a similar corporate hierarchy structure, levels of things. So even though it's not big corporate, you still have these sort of layers and levels and bureaucracies and red tapes. And so it's kind of hard to understand the wheres, the hows, and the whys. Also, the oldest form of association in the world. So a lot of, your associations are your alumni associations that have hundreds of years of history, how we've always done it. And it's also having to learn to connect with multiple generations at any one given time. So when you think about being in charge of designing all the experiences for an alumni weekend, which ranges from the people who graduated last year to the people who are celebrating their 50th plus reunion, that is 70 years worth of age, like difference. And you have to be able to think about, understand, and design an impactful experience for all of them, sometimes at different events and sometimes at the same one. And that really teaches you how to empathize, how to ask questions, in a room that you've wedged your butt into because you need the gosh darn information, and asking questions in a way that don't get you labeled as being challenging. That is a skill.
Okay.
That is a skill. Because it's like, well, why are we doing this? All the higher ups in the room go like, well, you don't want a lot. Or it's like, well, we're doing it because we have to. It's like, get her out of here. It's like, she's so challenging. I'm like, no, I just need to know why we're doing it. Like, what is the purpose? What do you want to have happen? I need the context of this to understand how to better design it for maximum impact. Because also, you don't give me any gosh darn help. So I'm a party of one. And one of the last, we think about alumni weekend at one of them, it was like 2.5 days of golf outing and 52 individual experiences that had to be designed and executed. And I'm one brain.
Mhm.
So it is a lot. And it
Mhm.
really teaches you how to maximize your time. I learned the hard way about wellness. It's the only job I've ever been hospitalized for exhaustion doing.
Oh,
So
wow.
learned the hard way. I also learned about modern students, modern student culture, what they'll really do, how they want to learn. That was a really big eye-opening experience. So yeah, it really puts you through your paces, and I'm really glad I did it. And some of my, greatest colleagues are still in that space. Um, but again, it was one of those things where I had my boundary box, I had my anti-goal list, and we were getting to a point where this role was fully in both of those camps, which is why I was unfulfilled. And so yeah, I had to say, you know what, this isn't for me anymore. And I'm going to take a leap of faith, and I am going to leave. And yeah, also, if you want to pay for the privilege of having me come back and consult at 3 times the rate that I'm asking for, I'm more than happy to do that too.
What was it about the modern student that you learned about?
They don't read.
They don't.
They
Go
don't
on. What
read.
else?
Which is fascinating, because we're still in a very Socratic culture when it comes to teaching. And what I also found out was that I was very blessed to be given the opportunity to teach at the undergraduate level without my master's being finished. Because in our industry, there's a significant number of professionals who don't have master's plus degrees, because we were like working. And our jobs specifically, especially in the meetings, events, travel, tourism industry, you need to have on the job experience.
Yeah.
I would be afraid of a professor in our industry who hasn't had on the job experience and is teaching you from a textbook, because that means that they have had no experience to teach you about experiences. So I was really privileged to have the ability to say, I've been doing this for 20 years. Like, I know what I'm talking about. Like, I got this. And they're like, yeah, okay, prove it. Okay. But the textbooks are almost invalid as soon as they're written. It's like teaching from a computing textbook. It's like by the time you're 4 years later, this thing is antiquated.
It's obsolete.
So
Yeah.
having a professor of practice, but also having to express to them, I'm going to give you this reading assignment. How many of you are actually going to do it? And I said, be honest with me. Everyone's like, no, but we love listening to you. Okay, fine. So here's what we're going to do. When you're here, here's my rule. No phones, no laptops. If this is when you're going to get the information, I need your full attention. After that, here's what you can do to help solidify what we learned and discussed together.
Yeah.
The other thing is that they have shifting mindsets, like shifting attention spans. So having to break up education into micro bits, let it sit, microburst, let it sit, microburst, let it sit. Like, that was, I think, my secret sauce. Bringing in outside speakers and letting them eat. Those were the 3 secrets.
Very good. Oh, yes. Preach to the choir. Now,
listen, I walked out of a cafe on campus, and I bumped into a young lady. Her name's Haley, and she goes like, "Oh, hey, Professor Pasha." Like, hi, Haley. She's leaving, and she goes like, "That's my events professor. She's really effing cool." And I'm like,
"Oh, huge
I'm
win,
cool, Professor. 19
I
year old
love
I'm
it.
cool. I win at life.
Now, we've come to the point in the show where we flip the script and let you ask both Mandi and myself a question, any question that you want to ask. So,
Okay.
who do you want to ask the question to first, and what is said question?
All right, so I'm gonna throw the mic to my girl Mandi first,
Hey.
because I feel the energy in the industry. I want to know, what is one label that you've been given by someone else in the industry that you wore as a sort of badge of shame before you realized it was a superpower?
Ooh. I've worn a lot of shameful badges with pride, actually. Loud. I think loud. I think, I think about going on site inspections, and I always just tell people when I get to the spa, I'm not allowed in there because I'm too loud. So, I mean, I think, I think loud's one of them. What else? I think when I was younger, I've always been positive. And when I was younger, older people would say, "Oh, Pollyanna or rose colored glasses, or wait till you get to be my age. You'll look at this totally differently." And I knew in my guts that when I was their cranky old moldy old age, that I would still be positive and I would still have good energy. And I used to be a little ashamed of that. I'd be like,
Mm-hmm.
do I not have enough experience? Am I not seeing something? Do I have a blind spot? And now here I am, not one of the older people in the industry. And I'm still positive, and older people still are like, well, wait till you get to my age. I'm like, no, this is just how I am. But I was like that when I was younger. I would look at my positivity as not as a weakness, but sometimes as a disadvantage. And I think there was a handful of years, maybe 2 to 3
Mm-hmm.
years, where I tried to tamper down
Try to change yourself.
the yeah, not change it, but like I just tried to like just dim my light a little bit so I could appear more serious. But I think what I've learned over the years is like I can be funny and I can be positive and I can be really smart and really serious. Like all things can be true at the
Mm-hmm.
same time. So I think those would be the two things.
Awesome. I
Yeah, good
appreciate that.
question.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Sometimes. So switching gears completely to Professor Roberts down there.
The
Um,
professor.
so I love that actually Amani and I connected over the fact that being professors of practice and getting to teach it really adds a lot of depth to your event work. It adds a lot of depth to the industry because it's giving something different. But Amani, I want to ask you a question about hope because
Hmm.
I love undergraduates because they, on one hand, remind me of being green and wanting to learn more while also like wanting to enjoy college for all of that experience. But they also like make me realize that these are the people who are going to come behind and I want to give them as much as I can to have them be successful. So knowing that you're just wrapping a semester, I think, right?
Yeah.
Is like what was a hopeful moment that you had this year? Like what was one of those positive experiences that you had in your professor hat that you felt like you could give something back or that you put that sort of positive light into their universe and gave them that sort of golden road going forward?
I think it'll be a moment that might surprise you, but I'll tell you the story. So a lot of times at Fullerton, I have breaks. Like I have a break from like 2:30 to 4 and from 5:15 to like 7. During one of my breaks, usually every Tuesday, I go to the African American Resource Center with the students there. They're pretty much all African American. We're in there. And the highlight of my semester was I would go in there and we play spades together. So for like an
Okay.
hour and a half, we just be in there playing spades together. But we would be talking about like class, they'd be asking questions, but we'd be talking trash too about the spades or whatever.
Mhm.
And so there was a moment where a couple weeks ago, they never would beat me. Like I pick a partner, any student would be a partner, and I was just good. And they
Mhm.
were beating me by like 200 points. And it was coming time to the beginning of class. But we kept playing. And if you played spades before, we hit like a blind 6 and a blind 7. So that means we were behind by a lot, but we caught up.
Mhm.
So we're only like 20 points behind, which is like 2 books. And I'm looking at the clock. It's like 7 minutes before class is starting. I'm like, I really need to leave, but I want to show you all that I'm still going to beat you, even, if that. So we played another hand and we actually beat them and they were so upset. So it was one of the highlights of my semester because it's just so much fun to go in there and play spades with them and the music is on and we're just talking. And so being in there actually gives me hope because they're asking questions, they're curious, but they also want to have fun. And they're playing like a traditional, like spades is kind of like an old school game. Like they don't really
Mhm.
play spades too much. I mean, we play spades because we're of age, but they're so that actually gave me hope because of the fact they were asking questions, they were playing an old school game, and they were just like with it. And so I mean, I could give you an example like for the music business class lab, but that's the one that comes to mind.
No, that's
Hmm.
a wonderful
That's
human
very.
experience, and I
Yeah,
I love that that's the one that you picked because I think everyone who knows you from all of your different hats and walks of life will understand that for you, that experience is so soulful. It's
Hmm.
so multi-layered. I could
yeah,
totally see why you would pick that, and I love
yeah,
that that's actually your story because I think it's for you. It's always finding a bridge, right? And we talk
hmm,
about that when we design events together. It's like, what's the bridge between people? How do you connect them together?
yeah,
So their parents or their aunties, their uncles, their grandparents probably taught them how to play spades, right? And
yeah,
like when you get past the kids table and you get to be the grown up, you sit the grown up at the spades table. You don't mess around. Like, this is not the time to learn. If you're gonna sit down at this table, you better come correct.
Yes.
Our family was hearts or canasta. Do not play canasta with my older sister. Do not do it.
Yes.
You're on her team or you
Does
quit.
she cheat?
Like,
Does she cheat?
no, she's just that good.
Yeah.
Oh, she's good.
She's just that. I don't know how she got that good, but it's just like, how are you this good at this? But anyway, like hearts or canasta. But when you come and you sit down, it's like the best conversations also happen over cards. It's like that third space. It's like part of my brain is on this, and so I can be vulnerable in talking about why, because it's like you kind of take down that wall. And Amani, you're full of the best stories. And again, so to be able to be thinking about what's happening with your hands while also like being a little bit more open with your heart and getting that story and connecting, like I could totally see that in one of your next books. Definitely.
Yeah. I'm going to tell that story frequently, so I like that one there. Before I let Mandi close out the show with her final question,
okay,
we do have to ask or take you back to when you were about to graduate from, how you say it, Bryn Mawr, right?
Bryn Mawr. They just graduated this past weekend.
Yes. So we're going to take you back to when you were just leaving campus after graduation, and you're going to give that Devon advice based on everything you've learned so far in life. What advice would you give your younger self?
I'm getting choked up because I didn't want to leave. They actually had to kick me out. My friends remember this story. It's like the head of housekeeping, her name was Debbie. She found me. They were doing construction on my dorm. The construction guys were outside, and she's like, "Devon, what are you doing here?" I'm like, I don't think I can leave. Like, I don't think I can leave. Like, I'm me here. And that was the scariest thing I've done, was leave the place where I had felt the most like myself, the most in control, the most in power. I was respected. I was well known. I had faith and confidence in myself as that person. And I was about to leave. And I was about to go somewhere where I didn't have any of that. And that was so terrifying that I was in full paralysis. I couldn't leave. And she was like, "Devon, just pack. Like, just put stuff in bags." And these construction guys, like nice big burly guys, were like listening to me cry in my room and taking trash bags and carrying my fish and like my bean bag chair and like all this stuff. And she comes back, she's like, "Where is your desk?" And I burst into tears again. I was like, "It's in the basement in that other building because I didn't want to use it my senior year and I moved it. I'm sorry. Don't charge me $200." Now, luckily, I knew a lot of these people on campus and they were very kind. And she just knew that like it was probably the hardest thing I've done in that moment. So looking back on that girl, I would want to tell her to hold on to the power of the authenticity, but don't let the fear of what comes. I'm like actually getting upset, not like emotional, like I'm not upset, but like, because in between that moment and up to a couple of years ago, I gave away that girl over and over and over. I gave her away for the benefit of someone else's goals. I gave her to every boyfriend. I'll become the perfect girlfriend for you. What do you need? Who do I have to be? What do I have to wear? What do I have to do? What do I have to eat? Like, to my parents, what's the perfect daughter look like? To my bosses, it's like, okay, this is what, Mandi said, like, I tamped it down, right? I'm like, what does great look like for you? What is the goal? What is the checklist? And I became so good at giving Devon away to become the checklist. And I started every single time. And all that does is just dim your light. All that does is give away your power. All that does is just suck the life out of you until you are a shell of who you are. And it took me a whole 20 years of doing that to realize that I choose not to live like that ever again. And it's only really been in the last year, maybe two, but pretty much, 2024, my year was becoming. And it was really that year I said, I'm going to become that girl again. I'm going to become the person who knows herself. I'm going to become confident in who I am as a woman. I'm going to be confident in who I am as a person. I'm not going to shy away or dim the light or give it away anymore. I'm going to do me and be as bold and loud about it as I can, because that person is the one who connects with my audiences. That person is the one who connects with one-on-one people off the street. That person is the one who gives a keynote that 2 people come up at the world and say, you have no idea how much I needed to hear that message today.
Beautiful.
But that other girl couldn't have done it. It had to be me in becoming, in belonging, in knowing, and in trusting the authentic version of yourself is the right one to be. So that's what I would go back and tell her is, don't spend 20 years giving it away. Even if it's scary to be it now, just be it, be loud, be unapologetic, just go and just live life on your terms. As someone very wise told me once, if you don't try to achieve your own goals, if you're not trying to achieve your own goals, you are by default achieving the goals of others.
Yes.
And that one sentence started the whole catalyst of me being like, I'm not going to do that for others anymore. And the only person who I'm going to do for is me. And to some people, that may seem like the most selfish sentence in the world, but I guarantee you, if you add a little bit of selfishness back into your life, the selflessness comes a lot easier.
Mandi, take us home.
Oh, it's so good. So good. I have 8 million more questions.
Part two.
So part two. Yeah, we'll come back. So as we close out, and I guess this is a homecoming to Devon, right? As you're coming back, you're your most authentic self. How can we support you and lift you up? So this is a 2-parter. How can we support you and lift you up? But then, since you interact with so many different people at different levels of their careers, how do you recommend other people support other people in the industry or outside, in their own industry, and lift them up? So first, for you, how can we support you and lift you up?
Actually, I'm going to answer that in reverse, because I want to do for others first, and I can always save time for myself at the end.
Beautiful.
For women in the industry, this message is for you. And gentlemen, hold on for a second, but women, I'm gonna look at you right now. There's 2 types of successful women in our industry. And there is the type that had to give themselves away and became that shell of a person to achieve where they are. And they're so traumatized by what they had to give away that they don't have any hands to reach down and pull up. So they've shut the door behind them and said, no, I gave away too much of myself to help anyone else. Like you have to go through that too. I see you. I know what you went through, but don't force someone else to go through that same thing. See and acknowledge that no one should have to go through that. So put your hand back out. To the women who do have their hands out to pull up, understanding that that is not an easy way out. It's sometimes to get through the glass ceiling or through the glass door or up that glass escalator, we need someone who's going to put their hand out. Speak the name of a woman in a room where she's not. If you have gotten to the point where you have someone else's attention, this is the time to speak the name of those women. So that's my message. And I see all of you, and I want that to come as I see you. And I know that no matter what, to get to these levels, and it's like only 28% of women can kind of get through this little gap in the world and get to these places where you're making a difference and making more money, and the GDPs are higher and your countries don't have gun violence. Good job. Put your hand out, because we still need to help each other up. Mm-hmm. To gentlemen in our industry, look at women and see how you're speaking to them. And I don't say this I'm not trying to disparage anyone, but believe it or not, we're trained to speak to our genders in different ways with a certain bias. And so women tend to get labeled where men get like gold stars. So I ask a lot of questions. And for a gentleman, like a go-getter, he's really interested. He's like, committed to the project. As a woman, I'm challenging. It's like you're too challenging. You're too much. It's too much information. Okay. It may be happening without you knowing it. For a second, just open your eyes in one meeting and see, did I speak over a female colleague? Is she getting her due chance? 1 woman is a token, 2 women is a trend, 3 women in a meeting means that you have an opportunity for real change. I should also mention that Bryn Mawr is a women's college, so it does come a little bit with, the territory. But I do that in real and true, honestly wanting to help, because a lot of what I speak about, a lot of my IP is about undoing those damaging labels. So understand there's a lot of women out there wearing this damage as a scarlet letter instead of on a superhero cape. There's a lot of men who don't understand that without knowing it are trained to label because it's how it's done versus having the awareness to undo that damage and to stop women having to feel like to get to these C-suites and executive levels that they have to give a pound of flesh first to the point where they don't recognize themselves. So that's how I want us to support each other, especially in the industry, but like just as human beings, let's just support each other. Let's open our eyes. Let's take a moment. I think because in a world that needs more awareness and kindness, it doesn't take long to say, how can I help you today? What can I do? So I appreciate you guys asking that in everything that you do is how can we lift others up? Because I think, again, you know, that's something we need to do. For those who want to lift me up, and I appreciate that, follow me on LinkedIn. I love my LinkedIn followers. I love connecting. I have a newsletter that comes out every other Monday. It's called Emanate, the Art and Power of Confidence. So it's how to start building confidence. And I wrote that newsletter for that 20-year-old girl who didn't have any. So that is it's for you. It's for everyone. It's part blog. It's part research, just little confidence, little boost every other Monday. If you know anyone who books speakers, professional MCs, wants to know more about professional MCs and facilitators, please send them my way, connect, let's have a conversation. I love, again, my LinkedIn connections, my website. Always happy to have the website up. It's DMP Creative LLC. Let's see what we can do together. Literally, let's have a 20-minute conversation and see what sparks. You know, it's really, it's so hard to talk about yourself and ask for how people lift you up, but it's connections. Like, if you know someone who books speakers, please connect me. If you know an event who could use a great MC, please connect me. If you want to know more what that's like, connect with me. But let's start it with the connection. Let's have a conversation. Let's see what sparks, and let's see how we can change your event to stop doing it the way it's always been done and doing it the way that's going to be great.
Ah, so good. And I appreciate you saying that, just have a conversation, because I think so many times we go into, well, somebody wants to talk with you. Well, what do they want to talk about? What is their intention? What is the purpose? And it's like, just talk to each other. You don't know until you talk what magic can be created. And it might not serve you, but the purpose might be for you to serve someone else as well. So just take the call, have the 20-minute conversation, and see what magic is created. Then that's more sustainable than that transactional thing. So I'm really glad that you gave that reminder to our listeners and to our audience. You know,
but as a solopreneur, the hardest thing to do is be like, hi, hire me.
Yeah. No, you got to ask for it.
But it's like, but yeah, if you need someone who's great, please hire me. That would be great.
Yeah.
And then my mortgage gets paid, and my 7-year-old can be kept in dance shoes and snacks. And, you know.
Closed mouths don't get fed. So
that's right.
So,
right.
Yes. And again, professional MCs and professional facilitators, professional moderators, we are artists, we are scientists, we are champions, we are mavericks, and we can be the magic that you need to take your event to the level that it needs to be as impactful as possible. So reach out, whether it's me, whether we're going to be connected to different types of moderators. I have MC moderators, I have fashion moderators, I have music moderators. I've got people who tell jokes and juggle. I've got people who do like mind bending. What do you call those guys? Mentalists. Like we come in all shapes, sizes, colors, and flavors. But connectivity, storytelling, empathy driven, you know, connection. That's what people remember. Go back to what I said about keynotes. Like, if they don't remember or feel anything, what have you done? So call the people whose connectivity is their superpower, whose energy is their superpower, and then see what happens at your event.
Sounds like a plan.
Good stuff.
All right, we're going to give you a round of applause. Thank you very much for being on the show.
Thank you so much.
We're going to see you in St. Louis for MPIWEC.
Absolutely. I'm hosting the local leaders track. So lots of great conversations, and make sure to come see Amani's session and come hang out with us in St. Louis. It'd be great.
Yes. See you soon. Round of applause for Devon here.
Thank you.
Bye, Devon. Thanks for being here. Thank you for tuning in to Adventures in Business. Don't forget to rate and review our podcast on the platform that you're currently listening it on. And don't forget to share it with your friends and anybody that might be as much of the business nerds as Amani and I are. See you next time for another captivating interview.